Hello and welcome to this special episode of Echo Africa. And this week is not just me, because coming to you from Lusaka, Zambia is my co-host who came all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, Chris Elam.
Thank you, Malama. And of course, I bring you warmth from Lagos, Nigeria. And it's a real delight to be here in Zambia. In this show, we are going to be talking about something that affects us all, energy demand.
Yes, and it doesn't matter if you're in Lusaka, Lagos, or anywhere else in Africa, demand for electricity is growing, and we're not prepared for it.
You are spot on. Energy demand in Africa is expected to double by 2040, and this should be clean, renewable energy if we want to cut out all those greenhouse gases from fossil fuels that are causing global warming.
So far here in Zambia, only 6% of people in rural areas are connected to the grid. And even access among the urban population is just under 50%. And the big problem is the grid is not reliable.
Yes, and that is a similar picture in Nigeria, where we also need to handle power cuts. So what can be done? Investing in solar is a step in the right direction.
And Zambia has taken that step, facing a very desperate situation due to a severe drought that led to extreme power cuts.
Load shedding in Zambia's capital, Lusaka. Nothing unusual these days. Sometimes the power can be out for up to 20 hours. Many shops are forced to close in that time. Baba Andrew Simezie doesn't have much to do either. His appliances need power. Without electricity, his takings plummet.
When you don't have power, it becomes a very big challenge. It's everything that goes down. There's no business. There are a lot of budgets that we do make. You need to eat, you need to do those needful things, you know. There's no fuel, there's no food.
Over 80% of Zambia's electricity comes from hydropower. The Kariba Dam supplies around a quarter of it. But a drought lasting more than a year led to historically low water levels and massive blackouts. These pictures are from October 2024. The drought is largely over for now, but Zambia's dependence on hydropower remains. Economic losses in 2024 alone were estimated at around 1.3 billion United States dollars. Business for Lusaka's charcoal traders, by contrast, is flourishing. Prices have doubled within a year.
Some of our businesses come from the power outages. A lot of people are using charcoal to cook. Since load shedding started, charcoal has become expensive because of high demand. One bag now fetches the equivalent of 16 to 20 euros.
More trees are being felled to produce the charcoal. That means fewer trees to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which in turn drives climate change.
Climate change has come in and we cannot rule that out. It is the force that has exposed us, our vulnerability. The issue at hand is why are we moving so slowly to onboard other forms of energy?
Zambia currently generates less than 1% of its electricity from solar power. That's including power from mini grids like this one in Ingwerere, a community of 1,000 people north of Lusaka. The people here only got electricity 4 years ago. Their lives improved drastically.
We would listen to music, watch football and the news. Many people have drowned in the Ngwerere stream. Watching the news, we realized that we needed to warn our children not to go there.
Now, many residents are upset because the private energy company switched off the mini-grid 2 weeks ago. It's only designed for 300 households, but many more had connected without paying.
The entire community is now affected, just because a few people connected to the grid illegally.
Since the grid stopped supplying electricity, residents have had to make alternative arrangements at much higher cost.
I would really ask that they come and reconnect us. We are struggling a lot. We can't afford to keep paying to charge our phones on a daily basis. Please reconnect us.
About 60 kilometers further north, things are moving fast. In the Chisamba region, a flagship solar project was built in just 1 year. The 100-megawatt plant is due to go online in May 2025. It's just one of several mega projects in the pipeline. By the end of 2025, Zambia aims to generate over 1,000 megawatts of electricity from solar power. That will also create urgently needed jobs.
The Chisamba solar came at a time when the nation and the chiefdom was grappling with drought. So there was some level of poverty was high. So it came then provided about 1,300 job opportunities for the local people. They've gained the experience in solar installation and solar power plant construction.
The plant has been built by a Chinese company on behalf of state energy provider ZESCO. The price tag, $100 million. ZESCO is paying 30% of that directly. The rest has come from loans. A study beforehand aimed to minimize harmful consequences of the project.
Part of the environmental impact assessment was to ensure that we mitigate the effects of clearing such a huge, of course there were some people that were displaced, that's the social impact. We made sure those people were compensated. And also on the environmental aspect, we have maintained the natural vegetation of the area.
Zambia is investing massively in solar, but a new one-sided dependency poses risks. As extreme weather events continue, flash floods and storms could damage the solar plants. The country needs a broad-based power supply that can cope with extreme weather, says Kawemwanga. He's a climate change expert at the University of Zambia. He says all options should be considered, including more wind power and geothermal energy too.
I think the Ministry of Energy have been able to identify up to 80-something of the hotspots that geothermal can actually be done. Except the challenge has been that exploration for geothermal and even installation is quite expensive. So maybe this is why we haven't done as much.
Meanwhile, Baba Andrew Simezie has come up with his own solution. He now uses a battery-powered trimmer and recharges the batteries using his solar panel on the roof.
You know, Africa is the continent with the biggest solar potential in the world, so it's no surprise that it's a massive economic opportunity. Though scaling up solar power to supply an entire country is a challenge, of course.
Because you know what? You need skilled workers like electricians, solar engineers, IT specialists, and dedicated people who are driving that change. Now let's see one of them in Ivory Coast.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir, les gars.
Bringing solar power to the most remote corners of Ivory Coast, entrepreneur Bénédicte Larissadoua has made this her mission. The goal today is to install solar panels here on this isolated farm, which isn't connected to the national grid. The farmer has invested in a 500-watt solar panel system to meet his electricity needs. Today, with solar energy equipment, it's important to point out that there's no longer any VAT, which makes it possible to run solar power systems at lower costs. That makes it easier for her to find customers. Bénédicte Larissadoua has been working in the solar industry for 13 years. Few women work in the sector, and especially not as entrepreneurs. We raise awareness among the population, teaching people that solar energy is clean energy and there's a good return on investment. What I like most about my job is when I finished installing a system, I switch it on and everything works, and the customer goes, "Finally." Making sure that everything goes smoothly means being conscientious and thorough. Committed as she is, Dao says that for a number of reasons, the solar sector is developing sluggishly in Ivory Coast. There were lots of installations that didn't work. One problem was that there was no political will to train technicians in the solar sector properly. So badly installed systems meant the general public had a poor impression of solar energy. The country still lacks practical training opportunities for people in the renewable energy sector. With the Institute I3 Benedict Larissa Doua and other players in the sector support professionals who are retraining or looking to specialize. To have a good installation, you need a good technician, and a good technician requires good training. Otherwise, it's disastrous and people will lose faith in renewable energies. Another major challenge is ensuring diversity in the field. There's only one woman attending today's training. She's explained about opportunities in the field of solar energy and said no one is making the most of them right now. That's why I decided to come and do the training. At the start of her career, Benedict Larissa Doua found it difficult to get a loan. These days, it's much easier to get financing for solar projects. We told ourselves that things were moving forward. Personally, I really believed they would, but I was a little premature. I didn't know it was going to take more than 10 years. The entrepreneur hopes to continue inspiring others, including her 3 sons. You're going to grab the ladder, and then you're going to look at the panels, and I'm going to explain something to you. Got it? Dao was an early adopter, equipping her house with solar power to avoid load shedding. She now has an even more efficient installation on the roof, with solar panels and a solar water pump. At first, my sons were too small to understand, but they get it now that they're older. Even when there's a power cut, we still have solar power. All our energy needs are met, and they are proud. They tell their friends that when there's no power, we still got energy. We don't have problem with power cuts. She hopes that one of her sons will one day continue her mission of promoting solar energy in Ivory Coast.
Solar is great when the sun is shining, but you won't get any electricity from the panels when it's dark. So you need to store the energy you're producing during the day somewhere. Now, one of those solutions might be right here in your smartphone. The battery that is powering your smartphone is a pretty good energy storage.
Yes, and these batteries are not only in your phones, they're also in your laptops and in electric cars. Imagine if you stacked a whole loads of them together.
The world is rapidly shifting from burning fossil fuels to generate energy to harnessing the wind and the sun. But they don't always give us that electricity at the times of day that we really need it.
So one of the key functionalities of energy storage in the grid is shifting the energy from the time where we have a lot of energy generated to times others later in the day where we don't.
And that's where batteries come in. In the middle of the day, when there's lots of sunshine and your solar panels are working well, you charge them. And once the sun has gone down, you use the electricity stored in here to power the grid.
So lithium-ion batteries are at the moment very competitive solution.
This is Michael Billon, who works in the energy storage team of Neoen, a renewable energy company. In 2017, they built this battery in the south of Australia, which at the time was the biggest lithium-ion battery in the world.
It was a way to show to the world that a lithium-ion battery can be a cost-effective solution to supply and balance the grid at, let's say, grid scale.
It could deliver 100 megawatts of electricity, so the equivalent of a smallish gas power plant, for up to 1 hour and 15 minutes. It has since been extended. The biggest battery in 2024 was this one in California, which can deliver 17 times more energy than the one in Australia. So is that it? We just keep pumping out lithium-ion batteries and our energy system will pretty much change all by itself? Well, unfortunately, not. It has to be done carefully. To make batteries, we need to mine minerals, and just like mining anything, this has environmental and social consequences. One big step in the right direction is a new type of lithium-ion battery that doesn't use cobalt, the mining of which was often linked to child labor. Cobalt-free batteries are also cheaper, by the way. And then there's this. Lithium-ion batteries can blow up, but this is happening a lot less than it used to, as manufacturers are working to make their cells safer. There's another challenge that's hard to solve though, and that's to do with the storage duration. That's the time it takes a battery to fully discharge at full power. If you think about your phone, that'd be the time you can play with it before it goes from fully charged to flat. The thing is, you can more or less control how you use your phone. Grid battery operators have to predict when and for how long a town or city will buy their stored electricity, because that's how they make their money. It turns out that one financial sweet spot comes when they can store just enough energy in daytime to provide power in the evening.
The peak production of solar energy lasts about 4 hours, so you can charge for about 4 hours and then discharge for 4 hours.
So every evening, operators get to sell their stored energy to power-hungry customers. But there are also days or even weeks with very little sun and wind. If you want to rely on renewable energy, you will also have to store far more than just 4 hours worth of electricity. And technically speaking, that's not a big problem. Imagine this battery can discharge 4 hours worth of energy. Now you could just add another one of the same size and you'd have 8 hours. And you can just keep adding capacity like that, but it gets expensive very quickly.
You have to basically install twice as much battery cells and battery containers on the site, so it's almost like doubling the cost of the project.
There are other energy storage solutions that actually become cheaper the bigger you build them. One option is to store energy in gravity, another in heat. But despite their advantages, there's one thing about lithium-ion that gives it the edge right now.
Because so much money and so much time has been devoted to lithium-ion batteries to make them that cheap, it's hard for other technologies to compete.
You have a lot of needs for short-term storage, up to 8, 12, 24 hours, where lithium-ion battery will prevail and will be the most competitive solution.
Which isn't to say there won't be any space for other solutions, particularly for storing enough energy supply to last weeks or even months. But building lots of grid storage batteries can already get us pretty far.
I can see how battery power stations could save us from grid failures like we were talking about earlier. Now, right now though, people have their own low-tech solution when the power goes down, using polluting diesel generators so people can stay in business.
Oh yes, Nigerians are very familiar with that sound too. And we know that it's not a viable solution because it is not only dirty but also expensive. Now we head to Nigeria's capital Abuja, where health centers and small businesses are making switch to a cleaner and more affordable solution.
Wuse Market in Abuja is one of the major trading hubs in Nigeria's capital. It's much quieter here than it used to be, and a bird's eye view reveals why. Solar panels. Many traders have switched to solar energy and moved away from using fuel-powered generators.
It works because the cost of supply, the cost of energy has come down. That is one advantage of it. I always have a steady power supply since I introduced this solar.
Many still rely on fuel-guzzling generators because the supply from the national grid is unreliable. But with inflation and the removal of fuel subsidies in Nigeria, prices have exploded. People now think twice before turning on their generators. They are also very noisy. 2 out of 3 users say they have a hearing impairment. Moreover, the toxic fumes are a health hazard and account for massive CO2 emissions. Nigeria is estimated to have around 22 million generators. Half of them are used by households, the other half by medium and small enterprises. In 2023, Nigeria emitted 129 million tons of CO2 from fossil fuels and industry. Almost 40% of that is thought to come from generators. And this is where the solar panel system widely used in Wuse Market was developed, a non-profit research institute based in Berlin. Its mission is to help people in countries with electricity shortages to switch from generators to clean solar energy. Using data on sunlight as well as power grid supply and demand, they've developed an optimized product that users dubbed the solar generator.
That's basically the project that we call Solar Killed the Generator Star. Where we said we will basically look at what these fuel generators do on a daily basis for customers. So we analyzed their usage, and based on that, we decided to build a solar alternative, which our customers call the solar generator, because for them, fuel generator, solar generator, it's the same machine in the sense it does electricity for them, but the solar one is obviously much preferred.
It's not just the typical inverter and battery for solar modules, it's also equipped with some more smart technology. The devices installed in Nigeria send live data to Berlin, so the system can be monitored and optimized for end users.
For example, here you can see the systems we have installed in Nigeria with their exact location. You can see that most of the systems are installed around Abuja and around Lagos. So usually we see that a system is currently not sending data or sending faulty data, and what we do is we send an installer, we call someone in Nigeria, one of our project partners, and tell them, please check out this system in this location, installed with this specific customer, and that's what they do on the ground then.
The so-called solar generator is an affordable alternative to a fuel generator and helps bypass regular power cuts from the national grid. Users can rent the systems, including 1 year of repair and maintenance, for 20 euros a month, or buy it in installments of 35 to 70 euros a month from partner companies in Nigeria. With current gas prices, a solar generator is often cheaper than a fuel generator.
Basically, the solar pays for itself. If you're a business that runs generator all the time, that means you have an overhead cost already of fueling or servicing your generator or buying components and all that. So we just transfer that cost to paying once a month, and then you're able to pay for the solar system.
Apart from markets, one of the main customers for the solar generator are healthcare centers. Thousands of them across the country have little to no electricity. Vaccines and medicines can sometimes not be cooled adequately, as well as the waiting rooms. Unlike here in this primary healthcare center in Abuja, where these infants are getting their first crucial vaccines. It now has a steady power supply from the solar generator, a big difference to before.
And if there is no light, if there is delivery, they use a torchlight. And like for the lab, if there is anything that we need to do, we go to other hospital to run our tests. So by the time they brought the solar, everything is going well.
Since 2019, the installed solar energy capacity in Nigeria has tripled, but it still only makes up 0.1% of the country's energy mix. But by the end of 2025, Nigeria's rapidly growing solar industry could face a major problem. Some politicians are pushing for an import ban on foreign solar products, and USAID, which supports the electrification of health centers, is set to be dissolved, following a decision in Washington.
For now, we are aware that the cost of maintaining those systems is going to run for only a year. Now, that simply means that where there is a problem with that system after that year, we cannot attend to it, meaning the hospitals are going to be in the dark. That means they're going back to where they used to be before.
Solar energy users and providers are hoping at least that the potential import ban can be averted, and that technical innovations can ensure the continued development of renewable energies in Nigeria and a steady and more reliable electricity supply.
The show has given us an idea of not only the challenges, but also a whole lot of new opportunities that are coming along with that energy transition and expansion in Africa.
Actually, We are speaking of 4 million new jobs that could be created in the renewable sector by 2030, and this is across the African continent. But maybe also for you and for you, Chris. Should you ever get fed up of standing in front of the camera? How would you like that?
I'll think about it, Malama. And if you don't see me on the screen anymore, don't worry. I'll be fine creating new business.
Well, thank you for joining us today. If you want to know more, or if you have inspiring stories that are making a change in your environment, then write to us at echo@dw.com. And don't forget to check dw.com for more Echo Africa stories from myself and Bess.
Bye for now.